What's good? What's good? Let me take this down before I completely spill all over that water. What's good, YouTube? My tennis ball is downstairs, so I have a baseball here. Baseball for this video. Welcome to the channel. An Essential Business, coming at you from the United States of America, from California. Arguably the center of communism in America. But that's for another video and another day. Yeah, in this one I'll talk about MGTOW just rising as inflation rises. To be honest, I actually didn't even think of the topic of what I would call the video, but I just had some thoughts in my head that I have to kind of say. Oh yeah, and I'll try to get the intros back with the music. I was talking to my buddy yesterday about kind of how to record music, and he gave me some good applications to use, because I was just using the capture screen, and that kind of screws up sometimes, so it is what it is. But yeah, I have my mouth guard in for some reason. Sorry, I woke up and screw it. I'm not gonna take it out on camera because that might be kind of gross. But yeah, so I'll talk about MGTOW rising. As inflation rises, I feel it's just gonna keep getting worse. And I can just tell what's going on here because the video that I posted that was saying MGTOW's rising in public consciousness here in California, that video has just kind of been relatively blowing up, at least for this channel. Obviously other channels are getting millions of views, but for this channel, that video has just been blowing up in the past 2 or 3 days. In the past 48 hours it's gotten 50 views, and I posted that days back, 2 months ago, I feel now. So I can just see how this MGTOW thing is going, and just talking to some of the subscribers on Discord. Definitely join that Discord. I'll have the link in the description below because that stuff is pretty good. We're having good conversations on there. But just talking to MGTOWs across the country and witnessing what I'm witnessing in real life, and then also witnessing what I'm witnessing in terms of what videos are kind of taking off on my channel, and then witnessing what's going on in terms of the money printing and just learning more about that. MGTOW is not going to stop anytime soon, unfortunately. Fortunately, or to me it's unfortunate, because I'd rather obviously not, I'd rather people, I'd rather it be a normal society, right? I'd rather everyone not be all broken up by gender lines, sex lines, political lines and all that stuff, but we're just gonna get more and more stratified. And especially among the sexes, men and women, as they print money, because the more they print money and the more the government takes over the role of a man. I hate putting it that way because that's seems so stupid to me, but honestly takes over the role of being a man in many respects, in terms of forcing payments toward single mothers, and being the way that people pay for college, and being the way that people pay for homes. You have to go through the government to almost do anything, to buy a house, to get your money out of a bank, to put your money in a bank, to go to school, college, to higher level education, whatever you want to call it. In terms of university, not the community colleges. I think the community colleges will be important moving forward, more important than we realize. I think those community colleges will be more important than we realize. Yeah, but in terms of university, you have to go through the government most of the time, right? Most of the time, for most people, to do a lot of things, you have to go through some kind of government thing, and that's not I don't want to say the government's all bad. There's pros to it, but like I honestly think government has gotten too big at this point, because at this point, like, people rely on it to do, like, you have to rely on it to do almost anything. Like, if you don't have the government involved in your life in like in some major capacity, you're seen at as like weird, or like honestly weird, and like you're like off to the side in terms of society, just because like everybody's part of like the government now. I mean, like, it is what it is, but now they're printing money, so like the more they print money, the more that like men are just gonna end up leaving. It just is what it is, because people don't want to be, like, not every man wants to be part of a like bureaucracy like that. And men will do it. Like, let's say you already have a family, like you already had kids, and you're like, okay, I have to, like, I want to provide for the kids. Like, I've known people to do this, to where you just kind of suck it up. You just suck it up because you already have some kids, and you're like, okay, I don't want to be a deadbeat or whatever you want to call it. So you suck it up. I've seen that happen many times, and that just is what it is. Like, you can't hate on anyone for doing that. Like, that just is what it is. But a lot of guys who don't have families, which is becoming an increasing number, who are single, no families, the incentive for them to join like a bureaucratic entity like that, whether it be a corporation like that's heavily funded by the government, a corporation that works heavily with the government, or like the government itself in terms of like a job for the state or a job for the federal government, the incentive to join that kind of bureaucracy for men, especially young men, with like no kind of obligations toward a family or anything like that, is like so low that it's like they would rather like sit inside, play video games, and like live with their parents, rather than go out and join, like, start taking on like debt, or join some bureaucracy, like whatever the case may be. Like, so the government's just gonna keep, they're gonna have to keep printing more money in order to sustain with the system that's going on now, because like with men kind of leaving, people aren't gonna pay into that. Like, no one's, because the government needs money somehow. And if people aren't paying into that, like with their labor and with their taxes, they have to run the system somehow. Like, so the more men that leave, the more they have to print the money in order to sustain that system. Like, in order to like meet the obligations they have to like pay their workers, to like import goods from other countries, because like we're not creating anything here anymore, because like the less men work, the less people, like the less stuff the US produces, because no one's working to produce it. So now you have to import stuff, and you have to print money to do that, because that importing country, they want US dollars, just because that's like the reserve currency. And the government's not getting it from the people. Like, if we're not working, like they're gonna print it, right? Like, that's just what it is. Like, they're gonna get the money somewhere, they're gonna print it. Like, they have the printing presses, they use those as tools, so they're gonna print money. Like, basically to make up for the fact that men aren't contributing to the system. Like, they're just gonna print money, and then the more they print money, and like we don't produce anything, like there's no new goods or anything like that, the more you're gonna get inflation. Like, the less value the dollars have, and then the more like goods are gonna cost, because since we're not producing anything, there's the same amount of goods in the system, but there's more dollars in the system because they printed those dollars. So now the average thing, like whatever you want to buy, it takes more dollars because because it's an economy. Everything kind of pulls on the other thing. So if there's more money, if there's more paper, there's more dollars, and there's the same amount of stuff, like all that stuff the prices are gonna be absorbed. Like the prices are gonna end up absorbing those dollars because it has to go somewhere. Like, it has to go somewhere. So if you have a house, it's gonna be more expensive. Like this book will be more expensive. This laptop will be more expensive in terms of dollars. Like it could be the same thing, but it's more expensive. Like used cars, for example. You all know the example about used cars, like being more expensive now. Like a car, even if it's used, is going to be more expensive because there's so many dollars. Like there's so many more dollars now than when it was new. So like even though it's used, the dollar value of it might be comparable to like when it was bought when it was new. And like if inflation gets really bad, it might just be way over. It could be like $1,000,000 for a car someday. I hope it doesn't get that bad, but like just looking at like the math of it, that could end up happening if we just print way more money and don't make any new shit. Like don't produce anything new. Like if you have the same amount of cars in a country, but you print more money, like the price of all those cars goes up because there's no more new cars and there's more money. And then, as you print money, like the more men not like if you're not working like as part of like a corporation that works with the government, a corporation funded by the government, or like the government itself, if you're not like working in one of those things, which a lot of MGTOW guys, they might not be, then you're gonna get priced out. And then the more, because you're not gonna be like getting your share of the printed money, essentially is what it is. Like they print the money and then basically divvy it out to like the people that basically where I don't want to like be a conspiracy theorist. Like I hate kind of saying that, like saying things this way, because like I'm a libertarian, but I'm not like an anarchist or something like Michael Malice or whatever. Like but it just is what it is. Like, and it's I might have to use this language more because it's gonna keep getting worse as time goes on. I feel like should just like look at the amount of homeless people that you see around now. Like you can't tell me that it's you can't tell me that number is getting lower, right? Like but yeah, so it just is what it is. Like the more things get inflated, like the more, sorry, like there was some like distractions going on around, but the more that just things get inflated, like it's just common sense. It's like it's basically common sense now, like to me, but you might have to learn about money creation, all that stuff. It took like a few years, honestly, for it to get common sense to me. So like I'm just kind of saying it now because like it's all obvious to me. But if you're new, especially if you're younger, like it took me years to get to this point where I could break it all down like pretty easy. It might take you years to get there. Like if you don't know about like kind of how all this stuff works, and I'm still learning daily, honestly. But like now I know enough to the point where like it's just mathematics at this point. It's like a math, like it's like a section of math, like trigonometry or algebra or whatever, like calculus. Once you understand kind of how it takes you forever when you're learning it, but once you understand kind of how it's working and you start seeing the patterns, then it's just automatic. Like then you can just look at a graph and like just figure out shit about the graph. Like say, okay, this is the derivative of that graph. Like this is what the graph is gonna do, like if x equals this or y equals this, right? Like you can just start, like just in your head, you can just picture it and like just, just like make moves on it, like understand the functions just easier because like you've studied like kind of how it works. Like it's like an economy, it's like how these things work. You spend a lot of time like trying to get it, like trying to understand the workings of it, and then it's just automatic. Like you can start picking up stuff easily, like understanding how the future is going to be. Like it just becomes more easy to predict, and that's how I know the more inflation rises, the more MGTOW is gonna rise. It just is what it is, man. Like all of these signs I'm seeing, like just taking my channel views off top. Like if I had no other signs and I just looked at like my channel views over the past, like honestly week or like literally week, you could tell. And I'll have a thing about technology being deflationary. That might be like one of my next videos because like I don't want to be all doomsday, honestly. Like you don't come here for doomsday if like you come to this channel frequently. You already know I'm not really about that like doomsday necessarily. I just like to see what can we do, right? What can we do? And like I'm hoping my channel can be an example on what we can do because exponential growth is like currently happening on this channel. Like just looking at the numbers, and like if you just keep following this channel over time, you're gonna see like that exponential growth. Like I'm hoping this can be an example of like what we can do given the circumstances. Like that, and that's honestly the best I can do. Like that's the most, like, and I'm kind of creative, so like that's the most, like that's what I can do. That's like creative and like hopefully helping people out and like helping myself. And it just is, it is what it is. Like that's what I can do, man. Like I don't really honestly know anything else to do because I don't really want to support the system, but I want to support myself, and I also want to like support and like get the perspectives of other people who also recognize the system for what it is and don't necessarily want to support it themselves, right? Like a lot of us have come to the same conclusions, like if you follow this channel. So it is what it is, man. Like inflation and MGTOW on the rise, man, on the rise, and I really don't think it's gonna stop anytime soon. Like I really don't. It's exponential growth, man, and that's an exponential growth curve, both inflation and MGTOW. And like just because I'm selfish, I'm gonna put like in this channel exponential growth. Like it just is what it is, and like MGTOW, and then like MGTOW has arguably been going on for decades, so like that curve is like gonna, like that had a long like the horizontal part of that curve has like been for a long time, so like that's gonna go up very fast pretty soon. Inflation, that was like a horizontal curve for a long time, but like you saw it, like we printed what, 5 trillion in the past, like we printed 25% of our money supply in the past like a year and a half. It's like you're seeing that go. And then this channel, I'm hope like I might, maybe I should have started it earlier. Like I always say, I kind of wish I left school and like did this shit earlier, but I was just like, I was just too young. I was still learning all this shit. So my exponential curve might not be the same as like, and obviously like I wasn't even born when we started the inflation and like when MGTOW started becoming a thing. You could argue that was the 70s. So I'm just doing what I can in terms of exponentials, man. It just is what it is, shit. But yeah, definitely the link to the Discord is in the description. Like I'll put my email in the description if you want to email me. Some notable channels will also be in the description. I'll put some notable channels in there that I follow. And yeah, that's basically all I got for today, at least for now, Stay safe out there, stay healthy out there, recognize the patterns out there too, and peace out, guys. Have a good day.